Is that better?
It's no different.
Hang on.
What have you got? A candle? Like a one lumen? Have you got a one lumen candle there or something?
What's wrong with that? The best I can do.
Is that the best you can do? All right. Yeah. I didn't realize Canada was a third world.
How's that?
Oh bloody hell! No, that's like a collapsed sun in my face. Right, are we good to go?
Yeah, we're good to go.
No, we're not, because you haven't got your mic on properly.
Oh, hang on, here's my mic.
Yeah.
Not as bad as you, bloody. Hang on, let me get it off because you wrap around all these wires.
Is this the Baileys? Is this the Baileys coming out?
It may well be. To be honest, I did finish quite a lot. I finished that big bottle.
Not being able to speak is not the same as not speaking. You seem as if you like to talk. I like to let people talk who like to talk. It makes it easier to find out how full of shit they are.
What the hell did you just say?
You are the new student. Come closer.
You're listening to the Kung Fu Podcast presented by James Still.
Anybody who has some knowledge of Kung Fu can easily defeat you.
And Steve Newby.
Man, you come right out of a comic book.
If you flash him, even for an instant, a defiant eye, he'll pluck it out. And if you throw any American sass his way, he'll snap your back and your neck like they were twigs.
Okay then, I'm ready.
All right, we good? Good to go. Okay, guys, welcome to the Kung Fu episode. I've done it again. The Kung Fu Podcast, episode 25. With me, James Still, and the legend, the legendary martial martyr, Mr. Steve Newby, my teacher. Hi, Steve. How you doing?
The legend bitch, is it?
The legend bitch. Wow. Yeah. Don't. Oh, you mentioned bitching. That's pretty.
Talk a spade a spade. You know, I'm beyond caring. I don't care if I want to say something. I just make my point.
Yeah. Well, excellent.
People want to make their points, and they tend to be. They kind of try and be anonymous.
Listen, when you start trying to use words with like 4 syllables after you've had Baileys, just be careful. No. Oh, yeah. We've just finished about 2 hours of looking at a sword set for someone, and it's took 2 hours.
Positive critique.
Yeah, it was great though. It's great.
It's positive. It's positive critique.
Oh my god, you're pished. You're pished.
No, it's positive critique. It's not. You know, people often think that all we ever do is just critique people badly. No, we never do. It's only if they want to make a question, if they ask a question or they complain about something and remain anonymous, then we'll just simply make a point to answer the critique. That's all.
Yeah,
but people always call in and ask, what we think of this and that, because some of them actually believe we know something about Kung Fu.
It's not true.
That's what keeps us going.
Yeah, that's what keeps us going, man. Right. Okay. So we're gonna hit this one off because we had I got to put my reading glasses on. We had like I said on the last podcast, the previous week on social media was great. We had quite a few comments, and we've had a comment from someone called, now get this, called Lau Gar Sifu. That sounds legit right there, doesn't it? That sounds legit right there. Are you? Oh, I'm shaking. Anyway, now the reason I'm going to take the piss a bit more than normal is because they've opted to remain anonymous. Now, like, that's fine, whatever. But you know, if you are a Lau Gar Sifu, right? If that's your handle, if you call yourself a Sifu, then you know that's quite a weighty responsibility. That title, I'd say. So if you want to, call shit, not call shit, but peck at us, and then you don't want to tell us who you are, then the last thing you are is a Sifu. I never ever want to be called Sifu because that's me. I understand my limitations, but for you to call yourself Lau Gar Sifu, alarm bells are running in my head straight away.
Well, listen, if people want to talk about something, they're welcome to complain. They're welcome to say something, but be honest and be open, and we'll talk to you directly. And it doesn't have to be on air. We can do it by email or answer your questions whenever. Or if you want to complain by, rather than complain anywhere else, just complain to me, because I think people are aware it's not me that answers, and most of the time it's you.
Of course, it's me. I don't think you know how to work YouTube.
so people complain about me, but I'm not the one.
They think it's you replying.
I know they do.
I love it. Am I causing? You said it's my fault. Like I'm getting into trouble.
The thing is, you're just simply answering your critics.
This Lau Gar Sifu, he had a few comments the other week. The first comment of which was in relation to our video, our podcast with Rash, and you recounted a little anecdote about someone going to the class and saying it's not Lau Gar, it's Lugar. And
that was your class, wasn't it?
Yeah, right. Okay, I can't remember that, but you remember it. But anyway, this Lau Gar Sifu took great pleasure in telling us that, well, Lugar is Cantonese and Lau Gar is Mandarin. I'm like, I don't care.
So
or was it the opposite way around? I don't care.
Well, let's just ask Lau Gar Sifu. What does he call it? Does he call it Lugar?
I don't know.
This is why I'm not interested in Chinese, because I'm not Chinese. I'm not going to go through 30 different dialects just to please people.
Well,
people. I call it Lau Gar, and I'm sure Mr. Sifu calls it Lau Gar. And if that's the case, what is the argument? I just pointed out that a parent came and said to you, "Oh, it's not Lau Gar, it's Lugar." Maybe he comes from a different part of China. Maybe. Who gives a toss? Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's Lau Gar. If he wants to call it Lugar, he can, and he's quite welcome to. But I was just pointing out that he said that.
Yeah.
And I think the issue was that's why I don't profess to speak Chinese. That's why I'm not that interested in all these proverbs and Chinese anecdotes.
But it's just not relevant to any argument, though. What the dialect? It's not relevant.
Most of the critics or the criticisms like that are a bit stupid. They are a bit like lame. They're not talking about the issue. Do you remember the guy that talked about? I talked about Shaolin, the Pagoda Forest, and I happened to mention that there was a what you call it, like a pagoda for one of the new abbots.
Yeah,
and I actually apparently it was not for that abbot at all. The issue was nothing to do with the abbot. It was the fact he had 40 businesses and he's an abbot.
But you got it wrong. You got it wrong, Mr. Newbie. You're not. You don't warrant the title of Lau Gar, Sifu of Lau Gar, Master of Lau Gar. What are you doing if you don't know Chinese? For God's sake.
I know.
Well, anyway, so it's just like, if you're going to argue, fine. Argue about something worthy, which, to be fair to Lau Gar Sifu, he did give us a good bit of fodder, but when you're, sniping away, on your keyboard,
it's not about Mr. Sifu. It's about, it's being lame when you talk about. You're bringing up the thing that we talked about, but you're bringing it up in the wrong context. We didn't talk about the abbot relative to whether it was his pagoda or not. It was just mentioned in the conversation. for that particular one. And it turns out that they talk about whether we were right about whose pagoda was. Who gives a toss whose pagoda it was? Nothing to do with the pagoda. It's to do with him, the fact that he'd been accused of, sexual abuse. That he'd got 40 different businesses, or 40 different businesses in 40 different countries, and all that kind of thing. And he's an abbot. He's supposed to be not even supposed to have a name, is he?
I don't think any of them are supposed to have a name.
And that was our point. It's not about frigging pagoda. It's about the fact that he was professing to be the abbot, and in modern times, it's just not like it was in the ancient times. And then people go, I've been to Shaolin. Who gives a shit? It's not Shaolin anymore. It's a government-run business. Well, so don't say, I've been and trained in Shaolin. And so many people go to China and they train with different masters. And some of them, they're making their bread and butter doing this. Yeah. And I'm not suggesting that all masters are like that. Some of them are very talented. But remember, they've been to a government training school to do wushu. So when they... if they don't make the grade, like there's a guy that's running on the fighting scene who dresses up as a monk, and everyone says, well, there's a monk in MMA or FS, whatever it's called.
Don't try acronyms after you've had Baileys.
But he's not a monk. He's a guy that went to a school that got so far, very, very talented, capable of fighting, and he thought, well, that's a really good way of promoting myself. Yeah. Shave my head, wear a monk's robe, and get into the MMA. He's not a monk. No. So don't say monks fight in the MMA, because they don't. Well, so this is a stupidity of people. Well, they see something and they take it literally.
Well, no, this is why I decided to call this section
Jive talking, you telling me lies, yeah. Jive talking.
Jive talking. People are jiving at us. People are jiving. Now, talking about Lau Gar Sifu, he...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're going back to that. He writes, in response, these videos. Do you remember these reaction videos we did? So... We still haven't finished them to one person.
Well, we did do Jace.
Jace Mace. Yeah,
he's a lovely guy.
Yeah, he's just a wally. Right. Anyway, so we did a reaction video about this one person wielding around a stick it's like something out of Robin Hood with Basil Rathbone. But for God's sake. Anyway,
and we did it for a reason, because we're already aware of his capabilities. Never mind what he was doing in the video.
Yeah,
we know it. One of my students, Mr. Sifu. That's why we did the bloody thing about him.
Yeah,
but let's answer your critique.
Well, not only that is this guy who we did the videos about. We're moaning about this again, but he calls himself a master. He's advertised himself as a master, and I'll put up a screenshot of the poster in which he does this. Okay, so if you're going to advertise your services as a master of Kung Fu,
Lau Gar, that you're not even qualified to teach.
Didn't say Lau Gar, he just said Kung Fu. But
did it?
But he apparently is a master of many Southern styles, etc., including Wing Chun. Jesus Christ. But if you're going to use that term and then post a video of yourself doing something like that crap we saw
in your back garden.
Yeah, in your back garden. Then, if you were a master...
we all train in our back garden. So
that's true. That's true. We do. Yeah. But, if you're a master, surely you could, out the bag, pull something a bit better than what we saw. Anyway, so Lau Gar Sifu says this. He says this. And this was on YouTube. This was the comments. He says, I get the guy in the video is not doing a form and is just free playing after a long while of not using the weapon. The original post this was taken from makes this clear. Due to this context, it may be somewhat unfair to be overly critical, and not stating the context here is perhaps a little dishonest. Ooh. Well, we never claimed it was a form. We're just critiquing movement.
So we're not being dishonest?
And prowess. So, okay. So, like I said, if you call yourself a master, your movement should be that of a master. As soon as you put a stick in your hand, you should move like friggin', Donatello, right? God's sake. Well, yeah, not Donatello, but someone better. Anyway, and then in the video, the critique video, you went on to say that there's a movement that looks like it misses. Okay, so so why would you do that if you're doing a form? Why would you do a movement that misses in a form? He carries on, Lau Gar Sifu. However, in terms of if you would put a move in your form that looks like it missed, then I'd say, yeah, you really would. Full stop. I mean, right. Then he'd say, yeah, you really would, right? He put a full stop there, so that's his thing, right? I'll read the rest of it, but yeah, you really would put a move in your form that really misses, okay? Anyway, he goes on. In fact, most forms are absolutely littered with such recovery moments, and for good reason. Actual combat, clearly a veteran of combat here, actual combat is dynamic, and a large proportion of your strikes will not land on target. Either you just miss, or the opponent moves, ducks, slips, blocks, closes range, grapples you into the clinch, counter strikes, etc., etc. You need to have contingency plans for all these possible outcomes. Hence, forms, empty hands, and weapons have many recovery techniques within them. It should also be a regular part of training to do pass and bag work. Don't know what pass and bag work is. Which in some way causes you to miss and recover. Training should increasingly stimulate reality to pressure test. Okay, right. So, in fact, most forms are absolutely littered with such recovery moments, and for good reason. Okay, so I think this guy is straight away confusing individual movements and the breakdown and application of training them, and then call it for recovery movements in an actual fight. I mean, I really think he should come and talk to us on the podcast, so we can help him. First of all, if you do Kung Fu and you want to train half your moves to miss, and you practice your forms for so much every day, for so long, for so often, for so many years, and you're training moves that miss, when you're going to fight, guess what's going to happen? You're going to aim to miss. Guess what's going to happen then? You're going to get smacked. So if you're training your moves to miss in every form you do, then you're wasting half your training time. You're wasting all your training time, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simply because there's no such thing as a move that misses. No move should miss. Every move should be aimed to strike and hit. Yes, you will recover. It's not a recovery. It's a continuation or an alteration of direction for another target, not a miss and then recover that, because there's no such thing. If you train to miss, then you will miss. That's like saying, I ever train to punch to there, but I'll never punch to there, because I'm training to miss and then recover. So you get to that point, the other guy's, oh, that didn't hurt, smack. He's just going to hit you. So why are you? Well, it's a very naive approach to forms.
Well, in fact, most forms are absolutely littered with such recovery moments, and for
no form is littered with recovery moments.
How would you do
the next movement?
Yeah, I was trying my best to think of an example in Lau Gar, and obviously I didn't find it. But one of the closest things I could get, and it's a really lame argument, is in a Far Kyun, right? Where you go, uppercut, leopard paw. Oh, I missed him with an uppercut. Oh, and so I'll go and hit him with a leopard paw. But that's not it. But this is my point.
Maybe it's that kind of thing that he thinks.
Yeah, maybe. I think that's what he thinks.
But what made him miss?
Yeah,
he obviously
I don't
didn't.
know.
So he's got to hit it. That's what gives you the point.
Yeah,
you hit it,
right.
or even if you aim for him and he avoids it.
Yeah,
that's not you aiming to miss. That's
a continuation.
If he moves, and then you just follow through with the open gap.
Yeah,
He's providing with your gap, not because you aim to miss, but because he avoids it.
You know,
that's not you missing it.
But what
if you hit him, you hit him.
What amazes me is we're talking about forms, right? Now, this guy who we critiqued on wasn't doing a form. We didn't say it was, but you brought up Lau Gar. You used the term forms, you know. So how long do you want a form to be? That's what I know.
Well,
anyway, I replied, this is what I replied, pretending to be you. I said, Lau Gar, I said, are you suggesting that that every form should have contingency moves for every move? ? Christ, how long do you want a form to be? What amazes me the most is that you're actually advocating to train a form with a technique that deliberately misses. Because lest we forget, he said, you know, would you put a move in a form that looks like it misses? He says, yes. You know, I said, I think you're dreaming, pal. I said, why not private messages, you know, and come out the shadows so we can have a proper discussion about this Lau Gar.
Well, yeah, he would be, if he wants advice or if he wants to give us advice. Sure.
Love it.
You know, here I am. I would talk to anybody, you know, we have these, you know, discussions and we've always got a cup of tea in our hand. So,
or Baileys.
Or Baileys, yeah, okay. So, yeah, or it's just a matter of people who have an idea like that, they could ask questions or argue their points, and then of course then we'll put them on and we'll have a lot of respect for them. We're not going to, just because people have different points of view doesn't mean that they're wrong. I could be wrong. You know, I just did a sword thing with someone who had a really good sword set actually, and I just made simple points that maybe could affect her sword set, maybe help the sword set, and in effect, you know, maybe they'd learn a little bit more about it. A lot of the problems with weapons, of course, is people use really poor weapons, and so that completely changes the way the form looks. So it's not about them being a bad practitioner, it's about them having bad weaponry sometimes. I mean, you see many times when you watch someone doing a form in say like a demonstration or in a form competition, and they have these stupid flimsy weapons and they're throwing them real fast and they're useless. And then they have these sticks that are made of balsa wood and they just spin them and spin them and spin them and spin them everywhere. And they have absolutely no concept of the fact that if they was to go anywhere, they hit anyone, they break. Simply because they're just used. And the only reason you can spin them like that is because they're so light. So it just to make something look good doesn't make it any good at all, just to make it look pretty. But, so I don't advocate pretty moves, and that's just where I am.
Well, going back to this critique thing, it wasn't pretty. Lau Gar Sifu continues. So he said, yeah, it was a long one. He was unleashing. I assume he's a he, you know.
It would be Seago if he was a she.
Oh, of course it would. So they would know that, you know. He says, the contingency is already built into the forms. Not sure why you're putting my handle in quotes. I've been using it for about 20 years on here, so not sure what you're saying. You know, call yourself Lau Gar Sifu, right?
Well, he's been a Sifu for 20 years.
Obviously.
Obviously very
anyway,
experienced.
Regards missing the target. Movement from form should be taken out, separately drilled, recombined, practiced against the heavy bag and on the focus pads, etc. Yeah, agree. What's wrong with that?
Agreed. Yeah.
You know? In fact, this should be practiced way more than the form itself. Isn't that one in the... Well, okay, so you're training the technique, but the form, you are training the technique when you practice the form. You're just not applying it with power and, you know, focusing.
Well, you should be applying it with power in your form, but you probably...
I'm talking about a physical... A touch, a resistance, or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Good point. So the thing is, if you do train it like that, then hopefully, and this is always a problem, hopefully the form will look completely different if you do it like that, because you'll be a lot better at it. So when you come to do the form, it'll be much smaller and much shorter. The movements will be smaller, because in a form, when they're trained, they're taught that they're only in a form so they can train the movements. Right, and then when you do them for real, they're never going to look the same.
Yeah. Well, he goes on.
And that's a misconception. again.
Yeah. Watch your mic. Watch your mic. It's going funny. He goes on to say,
I'm hitting it with the plate. Hang on.
Yeah. He goes on to say,
there you go.
Oh, you got it. Hey, that's better. Sexy. Right. Okay. In fact, this should be practiced way more than the form itself, hitting pads, etc. It's the only step to practical functionality. Practicing only form and cooperative partner drills gets folks nowhere. So, assuming we are practicing against targets, it's important to also practice what happens when you miss. In sparring or a real fight, many shots will miss. Undeniable fact. Even for pro athletes who spend all day learning to fight, you need to therefore drill responses for when you miss or are interrupted in some way.
Your response is another technique. If you miss, you go straight on to the next technique. Of course, if you're training, you should also be training against people, not just pads. So if you're training against people, then they will respond, and your reaction is to protect, not to deliberately miss. So, yes, you'll miss, but when you miss, they get an opportunity to hit you. When they get an opportunity to hit you, yours is a defensive motion, but could also be a constructive attack at the same time. But you never aim to miss, unless you're trying to feint. If you're feinting, that's a totally different thing, but you're not aiming to miss because the feint can actually hit as well.
Yeah. Well, that's the true usage of a feint, isn't it? Like, if you're, there's calling for a technique and feinting. Feinting is actually like throwing out a punch.
Yeah.
But so calling for a technique is something else. But like feinting with a kick, feinting with a punch. Like, really, if you're doing a double kick, for example, both kicks should hit.
Yeah. Both techniques should be aimed at hitting. Otherwise, all you're doing is slowing yourself down when you do a feint. Yeah. So you do a feint, hoping that he's going to go for it. What if he doesn't and it never hits?
Yeah,
he's going to hit you. So the first thing to do with the feint is to try to hit him, and so you've got to make it so realistic that he actually responds to it.
Yeah,
and if he hits him, then it's a bonus.
Yeah,
but if you aim to miss and then you have to throw another one, by then you've wasted all that time feinting. Because if he doesn't take it as a real technique, he's going to be able to do something about it and respond accordingly. So it's just slowing your fight down.
Yeah. So
feinting should be good.
Yeah. You therefore need to drill responses for when you miss or are interrupted some way. These contingencies are already built there in the forms. No need to make the form longer. The practice is best done when drilling on the focus mitt, since it provides live resistance and pressure testing. The pad holder can randomly move the pad around at the last moment once the striker is committed. This tests several things at once. Is the striker still balanced, rooted? Do they freeze after the unexpected miss? Or do they immediately compensate and follow up? Distance, timing, balance, and reactions, all essential for real combat, and all tested by one simple drill of randomly making the striker miss.
He's gone on a little bit about nothing.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, there's something far better than doing that, and that is literally fighting.
Yeah.
And then you'll know whether you should aim to miss or not, because you'll find out the hard way.
Okay.
And when I was doing some fighting, as you know, my favorite technique was sweeping people. Well, I didn't just go to sweep them. I always did feinting first, but the feints always hit. So like in a competition, you would do back fist, reverse punch. So you'd go back fist, reverse punch, whatever. These techniques would literally hit them, but then they would be swept.
Yeah.
But it's because they're considering these techniques, or they're trying to cover their techniques.
Yeah.
It's like warfare. You always attack on as many different fronts as you can, but you make the one realistic, the others are aimed to fool the person. So, but you've still got an army. That army is still making an effective force, trying to get in, but they're not the main army. They're not the main force. You just think they're the main force. So you take all your defensive positions against that area, and suddenly you find out you're being attacked from somewhere else. That is what wins a fight, and that's what a real fight is.
Yeah.
That is competition. That is reality. That is tactical fighting.
Well, all warfare is based on deception.
Exactly.
Sun Tzu.
And so is fighting.
I got a good sort of. So it got me thinking. Like, so I'm going through learning, going through Doi Chat at the moment, and really sort of, I'm, as you said, Steve, I'm kind of, running before I can walk, sort of thing, But essentially, I'm building up the speed in it now. The thing about and it applies to any dual man form, right? When
do you find any techniques that are aimed to miss?
Oh, did we think about that? No, afraid not. When we're doing the form, okay, an unexpected event happens. Maybe my partner hits my stick. Maybe I'm not gripping it hard enough. Maybe it bounces. Maybe I throw it a bit too far. Maybe I stumble on the wet grass. Funny thing happens at that moment. You react because you are in the moment and you do something, right? So while we're not actively fighting, you have the mindset of fighting, and that reaction happens, the defense. And it's not a pre-planned contingency. It just happens. No. It happens because you're so engaged, not, in spite of this form. It just happens because
it's called a reaction differential. That's what
there
I call
you go.
it.
A reaction.
In other words, you do the set so many times over and over again, and because it's a partner set, you'll do it with a partner over and over and over again. Then one person will make a mistake, and automatically you respond to the mistake because it doesn't fit in your head.
Yes.
It's not in there, so you respond. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Okay, you're driving, and you're a professional driver, and you're driving down you're going to a party, or you're going to a place a distance away, and you will just drive, and then halfway down the street you'll go, isn't there supposed to be a roundabout here? Isn't there supposed to be lights? I should have gone through some lights by now. Then you suddenly realize where you are, and you find out you've actually passed those lights back there. But within that drive, at some point in time, someone's going to step out into the road. Do you think, because you're in that mode, you're going to run them over? Answer, no, because your brain kicks in and you suddenly go, oh, the lights are red. Oh, Christ, there's a guy coming out the road. Yeah. That is a differential. That is the same as when you're trying to set.
It's like hyper awareness. Boom, you react.
Yeah, so you react to something that's not in your norm.
Yeah, yeah. So, it's not a contingency. I'm not thinking of a contingency. It's a reaction.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't plan for a contingency, because how many contingencies do you want to plan for?
Yeah, you can't do it. You can't do it. It's not possible. So he's I don't know what he's thinking about, but I think he needs. Surely, I'd love to help him. I'd love to, argue that point with him, given that conversation, because he's completely on the wrong planet.
Yeah,
and he's obviously done no fighting at all.
Well, you can tell that because of the terminology and the
he's talking
perception.
About pads.
Yeah,
he's not talking about fighting. He's talking about pad work all the time. He's talking about using pads to a degree.
Well, so anyway, it went on and on. And,
bless him.
Nothing more.
I appreciate that he's made a comment.
Well,
I just wish he would have made a comment by not kind of coming out with, maybe he should have kind of contested by asking questions, or not by stating.
But it's anonymous. So these little warriors behind their keyboards, they think they can say anything and
Isn't that called trolling? Is it?
I think it's called trolling. It's called trolling. Okay. Just if you're a Sifu, if you're a Lau Gar Sifu, in the truest respect, truest use of the term, come out of your shell, tell us who you are, because you must be that good, and then we can have a proper conversation. Then we might treat you with a bit more respect than if you're being anonymous, because that is ridiculous. And the problem with people like this, Steve, do you know what the problem is?
Yeah.
You can't handle the truth. I would rather you just said thank you and went on your way.
There you go. So Jack Nicholson says it. Honest to God, unbelievable.
Yeah, but your lip syncing was useless then, James.
Was it? Oh,
yeah.
Do
it again.
Was my eyebrows good? Do I have to put it on again? I don't know when it kicks in. Yeah.
You can't handle the truth.
No.
I would rather you just said thank you.
No. Can't you hear it?
I can hear it, but you remember, you're on a delay. You're on a delay.
So it's me that can't hear it, okay.
Yes, it's you that can't hear it. Honest to God. No, that's, you know. Gee,
so,
you know. That rolls
so when it comes on, it'll be
It should be. It should be. It should be.
Let's talk a little about the form that he mentioned about the you know, when you look at the stick and he like, I mean, I watched them in the class doing it as well, so it is a form because I watched them doing it to a degree.
Yeah, some of the movements that guy used were from a form in the loosest term possible, because quite frankly, what it was on the video was a spear form. But they were not using spears, they were using bow staffs. Sorry, Joe staffs.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, what?
You see, when you're using a spear, the spear has to, if this is a blade, you're going down, the blade goes down like, you're going up, the blade goes like that. You're going sideways, the blade goes like that. You're going a diagonal, the blade goes like that. Most people who use spears, they don't even know where that blade is. So they're basically just throwing it around. Right. And the blade it's going nowhere. So if they cut across, that's how the blade should be. But they don't. They end up like going like that. The blade is like that.
Yeah.
And they have absolutely no understanding of a spear. So you can see that in many people who do spear sets, okay, spear forms.
I can't comment. I don't know the spear.
Well, now you know that much. So when you practice that spear, you will always look at the blade. Because why have you got a blade for if you're not cutting with it? You're not just smacking them with a stick. You've got a blade on the end, for God's sake. So when this guy talks about the pole, I mean, yes, they're doing it with a spear set with a pole, then they cannot understand the spear. It's as simple as that. Because they cannot produce that spear. Yeah. They should at least have a piece of tape either side to dictate which is the blade and which isn't.
Yeah.
At the very least. And the important thing about, you know, what we saw on that was, I mean, where I saw it in the video where they were actually practicing the form.
This is a different video we're talking
about.
Yeah,
a different video. I did watch it where they were actually practicing the form in a class. The guy had one of them had a stick down like that, and the other guy had his stick, and his hand was in the middle holding his stick there, and the other guy's hand was there with their stick underneath. So and he had about a foot of a stick of 6 foot pole. He had like that much using it. The rest was all behind him. Yeah. So why didn't he have a 6 foot pole and hit in his hand so he drops the stick? Why wasn't? Because they haven't got a clue. And that was our critique. Because when we see people who cannot use the weapon, I'm not talking about people who are learning to use the weapon.
Who call themselves masters.
Yes. When they call themselves, then we call them out. Okay, but there's so many people that call themselves masters, and just at least be honest with yourself, and you know, get instruction. I was going to say get help, because often they need that, but stop, for God's sake, calling yourself this and that, and just, if you've got the gorm to call yourself a master, at least have the gorm to practice. Don't just call yourself a master because you teach. Because you're teaching rubbish.
Yeah.
And if you're going to teach, then you should be capable at least of, if you can't do it physically, many things I can't do physically now, you know, but at least be capable of talking about it. At least have the knowledge.
Yeah.
It's what comes out of here that matters.
But the same sort of, you know, thing applies if you want to call yourself a Sifu. Now, this is why I don't, like, someone once tried to call me Sifu, and I didn't agree. I didn't like it. I didn't like it because of the connotation and the, it's like a weight. And I think it's a very sacred thing to call yourself a Sifu. So use it wisely, you know.
Anyway, I don't think anyone should call themselves Sifu. I think their students should call them Sifu.
Yes, that's it. If you name yourself a Sifu, you are full of it. Your students should be calling you that, you know. Lau Gar Sifu. Have we got anything to say to you? I don't know.
Now listen here, you mullet.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
100,000 sperm, and you were the fastest.
You are the kind of club-toting, raw meat-eating, me Tarzan, you Janin, big bald bubblehead that can only count to 10 if he's barefoot or wearing sandals.
You're what the French call Les incompétents.
Don't mess with the bull, young man. You'll get the horns.
There you go. Don't mess with the bull, young man. You'll get the horns. Right. Ooh, they riled me. And, you know, it did go on a bit. I'll post the link to the thread, to the video, so you can read all the comments for yourself if you're interested, if you're bothered.
You're talking about me?
No, well, you and yeah, you're not bothered.
I'm not,
you're not bothered.
I'm not interested.
It's just funny. It's good fodder. It's good fodder. It's good fodder. You had an email, didn't you?
I had an email
You had an email from someone.
Yeah, I did. It was wonderful.
Go on. You don't seem that keen to talk about it.
I don't give a toss.
Go on, because it's funny. Why did you get an email to start with?
I got an email from an old student. Okay, now we talked a long time ago about my history. Obviously, I like every instructor at some point in their lives have had, you know, shameful students that have disgraced themselves, and they have gone on to do whatever they want to do, which is great. That's fine. But for some reason or not, and I never ever knew why this guy turned, you know, weird, because he was a really nice guy, and he had a great training regime, and he wanted to do, you know, everything for me and so on. And do you remember, it was around 2012, when my wife was having a major problem with her back. Yeah. Remember when you used to push around town?
Yeah.
In a wheelchair. Yeah. She was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And we were having a lot of issues family-wise because of that, you know, situation that we thought she was going to be in a wheelchair forever, right? And but luckily she's recovered. We've got an electric wheelchair here, okay, which we're going to sell because she's doing really well and she's not. But anyway, to cut a long story short, at that point in time, I started kind of pressing people to teach, and I started handing out more kind of opportunities for them to gain.
Well, you would call it opportunity. I think they would call it just extra work, wouldn't they? Because, you know,
I've no idea what they call it. I
imagine that's their sort of constitution. Extra for me.
That's right. Extra
What's
for
in
them.
it for me?
All the money, actually, because that's what they were getting. They were getting all the money.
Oh, right.
And what I did is I kind of retracted from teaching and just taught the senior classes, and I did the gradings. I maintained the gradings for myself. I maintained the courses for myself, and I had a couple of classes because of my love for teaching, obviously. And I retained a couple of clubs, but all the other clubs of my whole organization was kind of handed out to various people, and some of them have still got them, which is great, and others, like this individual, suddenly, and I'm not going to suggest that he instigated it, but I knew of secret meetings in his house with other people, including the one we did the critique on, and the one in Scotland I talked about previously, where he sent me a letter saying how great I was, and I told him to go swivel. and basically this guy kind of encouraged all them to leave. But my understanding and my belief, and I'd like to keep this belief because I don't think he could have been so nasty that he was, and he has been so nasty. He's been encouraged because he's getting all the money. I was doing some professional kickboxing, and he was part of that as well. Got through all the, you know, got people through black belts and that, got them teaching. And then suddenly, the guy that was the head of this organization suddenly decided, wait a minute, we don't need a senior instructor. If I go underneath him and start pulling these people to me, then I don't need a senior instructor. So I was kind of out of there, and they had to say something. They had to create something. So he started telling them about my business agreement with him and all that sort of thing. Because remember, I was the only one in that association taking gradings on my own. All the others, all of those other instructors throughout the association, throughout the country, only, you know, they had to have him taking the gradings, but I did all the gradings myself. And you know, and it was kind of a secret thing, an agreement between him and me. And then, of course, now that he'll go and take the gradings for this guy, and I'm not going to give him the privilege of even naming him because he knows who he is, because he sent the email. So I'll tell you the email, right? Because this is all it says. Because every so often you get these people that just, they can't understand that you can't destroy the past.
No,
you can't be rid of history, right? But of course, you know that I'm Marty McFly. right? So you may as well play the Marty McFly music for this, because apparently I'm nothing to do with it.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah. So this guy sent me a link, and it's really nice. He sent me a link to the theme tune to Let It Go, Frozen.
Let it
go. Yeah. and he I think it's a smile. I can't see. Oh yeah, it's a laugh. It's an emoji smile. Yeah, it's really nice. So he sent me that, and he goes, watch, sing along. Along, by the way, is one word, not two.
Yeah, I was going to say. But
and enjoy what life you have. I'm not interested. Well, I've never said anything about him, but I think you did put something on the podcast. I think I put
some videos of him bowing, you know.
Yeah, to one of his new masters that lives in China that you'll never get to teach him.
That's the master who hits people with umbrellas, remember?
Oh, right, okay.
That one. Not his UK master.
Oh, right, because he's got two, hasn't he?
He's got two.
Okay, anyway, regards, that's the best part of it, regards. His name, his martial fitness, and apparently all these things that he does. ABA, England. Hang on, shut up. Hang on. I got to get through these. This is a list.
Was there quite a few lists?
This is how he's promoting himself. So it's like martial fitness, ABA, England boxing, where he's based. I'm not even going to say that. Police boxing. Have you ever seen a policeman box?
It's shit.
Lau Family Hong Kong, which obviously is another, organization of Lau, somewhere else. Chen style Tai Chi and Qi Kong. This professional kickboxing association I talk about, I'm not interested in promoting them. And then another Chinese martial arts association. Oh, and he's a fitness instructor. But somewhere, hang on, I've scrolled down as far as I can.
Are we missing one?
I can't find the SJN Academy. But he was with the SJN
You telling Academy. Me for 15 years he's just erased 15 years worth?
Apparently. Well, he was with me 12 years.
Oh, was he? 12 years. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I've got photographs of him in the gradings, taking his blue sash. I've got him his white sash.
The reality is that, but isn't it funny with people like that?
And I saw him go on, sorry.
No, I was going to say, people like that, exactly the same as me, we did not have a clue about martial art until we met you. In fact, we were nobodies. He was a nobody. I was a nobody. I still am a nobody. Only I'm a nobody with a podcast. So I got the mic. You ain't. Get your own podcast.
Yeah. No, it's just, you're right. It's just when people...
It's sad. But this same person...
What is he trying to say when he lists all this bullshit? That he's got all this?
I don't know. I don't know.
Do you know, it's in a stupid little town. He's got a full-time gym now. And I did go, and believe me, I did go to his opening day.
Yeah.
I shook his hand and congratulated him. And then I went around talking to people.
Wasn't this while he was, stabbing you in the back?
Exactly.
But you were good enough to go to his opening and shake his hand and say, well done.
I had no idea he was stabbing me in the back. Wow. And then, but it was the kind of reaction that I got from people who were doing the Tai Chi. They were there, the people he was training with the Tai Chi. I don't care who he trains with. I have like yourself, I talk to you about training with other people. All students should have their own lives, but they're dedicated to what they learn. Right, and some of them have the respect of the instructors that teach them. But this guy and other people like him, they crap on you, something rotten. And you know what? I never knew what he crapped on me for. And that's because the main reason was money.
Oh, right, okay.
The main reason simply is because he got convinced by someone else that I was doing the dirty on him in some way.
I feel sorry for the guy. I really do.
Yeah, well, I always say to people like that, they say, "Oh, you're ripping me off or whatever." Where's my Porsche?
Yeah.
I had a mortgage.
Do you remember that we, and I say we because it was you and me, we single-handedly built that gym for all the instructors.
Yeah, and they came down.
They erected the show. We insulated it. We plasterboarded it. We painted it. We fit the toilet. We did the drape. We did everything. We made the office. We decorated it. We got all the stuff. You and me, I was there putting in like 12-hour days, building this gym for all of our instructors, all of your instructors, part of our academy at the time, to come down, to which this guy was one. Did they ever come down to train? Did they ever, like...
Well, they came down to train, but they didn't come down to help.
No, they didn't come down to help. But, well, very rarely they came down to train, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, that's true. But I'll give you an example of this, and I'm sure he may remember it if ever he watches these podcasts.
Oh, I'm sure he does, because, like he doesn't care, but somehow the last podcast found
he's going to have people who kind of say to him, oh, they've said this and they've said that.
Lau Gar Sifu, we're talking to you. We know.
We really do. Well, we assume, but we do recognize that people do have their own, dreams and whatever, but you don't have to destroy people. You don't have to disrespect people. You don't have to betray people to make your own dreams. There's been a lot of people that have gone their own way, and good luck to them and everything. But there are people that have gone their own way in martial arts. My students or instructors have gone their own way. Steve, I want to do this. I want to go off and do my own thing. Okay, shake hands. Good luck to you and everything. Yeah. Just don't use my name. Just go and do whatever. And then there are people that are completely and utterly tried to destroy you. They have betrayed you. They have talked about you. They have betrayed your trust in them because you tell them things that they maybe shouldn't really talk to other people about. And and then of course you've got people there are a lot of people around in the world that they can gain from that, right? They know they have a vested interest in people like that because they know they're good to a degree, and he wasn't bad, but he just got bought, if you like.
Yeah,
and he thinks he's such something big, but I've just got to tell him, you are not big. You are just simply my ex-student, and I'll never be owing to you, and you'll always be owing to me. So.
Listen, I'm waiting for your list.
Don't send shit like that. I'll send my list. So what did I do for him? What did I do? Oh, wait a minute. I took him on as a student. I taught him everything he knows. I taught him everything about Lau because that's what he's doing. I taught him all the kickboxing from that association. And then I invited him to train with me in that association because he'd helped me pay for the class, right? So he paid half the class, and then I did it with other people, like some of the people that crapped on me. In fact, all of them, they went with him. What else did I do? Oh, wait a minute. I got him to learn to teach. Then I got him to start assisting in the club. Then I gave him the club that was already established. Then I gave him another club, two of my biggest club and my oldest clubs, I gave him to run and gave him all the money for them. And I just took a small franchise. I did the gradings and I did the courses. And then what happened? Oh, he suddenly thought that I was taking all the money. Oh, wait a minute. I'm driving an 11-year-old car. He's got a new car. He left his job to start doing the stuff that I was teaching him.
Do you know what it makes me? It makes me wonder. This attitude of recalling the past in terms, etc. It makes me wonder where this guy gets this attitude from now. I believe. I would throw it out there that this guy's attitude possibly comes from his current instructor. Allow me to elaborate, Mr. Newbie, because on social media, it's a wonderful thing. And I think we should do a golf clap to the person who invented the screenshot, because I was sent the other week a screenshot of this person's current instructor, a very popular YouTube martial artist in the UK, goes by the name of Sifu Stephen. Okay, now Stephen, And this is the thing, right? I don't know Stephen. I just know him by the reputation, and he's quite. He teaches Dimac, and well, we've discussed what we think about Dimac, and herein lies the problem. I'm willing to acknowledge that everybody has bad days, right? We all have days when we wake up on the wrong side of the bed, right? And things are just annoying us generally. It happens to probably you more than anyone, Mr. Newbie. But anyway, Stephen, he writes on his Facebook. This was last week. He says, "I never say anything I can do unless I am prepared to demo firsthand. Those that doubt, feel free to contact me and we can arrange a demo on social media with themselves. No holds barred, of course. Too many people think they know it all because they have read a book or just don't believe it works. My door is open. No ego. Happy just to help those misguided people learn that a closed mind is no good. The Dimac works very well. And as always, I'm happy to share with those who are both skeptical and who wish to learn. The skeptics just need proof. There are too many internet haters / trolls who think they know everything. Well, they don't." Let me just reiterate, right? So this guy is a very, very popular and, successful UK-based martial artist. He wrote on Facebook that he wants a no-hold-barred fight with someone to prove to them that Dimac works. And the best part of it is, he deleted that post. But someone, my little source sent me the screenshot straight away. How interesting! That's where that guy gets it from, Steve. That's where he gets it from. This attitude. He's calling people out. What's that about? What the hell is that about?
Yeah,
Grow up.
We've seen too many people call people out because they believe so strongly in their style, and they've made themselves out to be completely stupid in the end. Because if you're going to do that, you've got to train specifically for that, and this guy doesn't train for that, so he wouldn't.
He doesn't.
Last 5 minutes, but I'm not sure if I would agree whether it was him. I mean, obviously he was one of those people that would gain from people because he's done it throughout the whole association, the BKFA. He has taken a lot of students, and they've all got their reasons. I'm not disputing that they've got reasons. If they decided they wanted to leave for one reason or another, maybe they're not getting taught enough, maybe they're not understanding the syllabus so much, maybe they don't believe in the syllabus so much. And here's a guy that's got some kind of charisma that may encourage them to do new things and make them believe in it. And of course, he's one of those guys that you have these typical kind of people who do demonstrations or do courses where they call someone out that they trust. They'll use them as cannon fodder, and rather than just sort of show them where the strike is, they'll literally hurt them. And of course, when people see them hurt them, they'll go, "Oh, that works." Well, do you think it doesn't work just because you don't actually do it? If I stick my fingers towards your eyes, but I don't take your eye out, do you think it doesn't work?
No, but it looks better on video, doesn't it?
It looks better when it does. So yes, I can see where that kind of relationship can go and where it can destroy. And unfortunately, a lot of those people really don't have the respect for their instructors that they should have had. And okay, if they want to leave and they want to go with this other guy, someone else, it doesn't matter to me. And it shouldn't matter to their instructors. They go, okay, fine. But don't take your clubs. Don't take the person's business. Don't take the person's students and try to convince them that you're right and everyone else is wrong. And don't. And obviously the people like that can coerce them as well. And I disagree in a sense with you about that person doing it. That person definitely caused some damage, but I believe it was the one to do with the Kickboxing Association that done all the damage.
Yeah, I'm not talking about. I'm not saying that person influenced.
Right.
Maybe in some small way. I'm just very
influenced.
interested in the fact that this person, this prominent instructor, Mr. He, as a mature, seasoned martial artist, his attitude when is to call someone out for a fight. It's like, grow up. If that is your instructor, you should be ashamed of him, because that's ridiculous. And I think I think Stephen was ashamed of that. That's why he took it down. I'm just like, grow up, mate. You're doing really well for yourself.
I personally am not sure if he could follow it through, because
how many times have we seen it?
Well, how many times are you going to see someone doing dim mac against someone who's going to punch and kick him? It ain't happening, because that target ain't going to just stand there for you to do your, bang. It's not. It's not going to. If you're that confident, why don't you enter bloody Bellator, Cage Rage or something? If you're that confident about what you're doing, we're allowed opinions. Well, enter any competition.
Well, any competition. Yeah. Well, I use that because how many times do you see people, an MMA guy?
Wait a minute. Other than forms competitions.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen him in anything?
I have not seen him in anything.
I've never seen him fight. I've never seen him compete in just semi-contact kickboxing. Never seen him. And if he has done it, and I could see some videos, that would be great. I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
But I've never seen him. But the people that joined him are probably a damn sight better at it. But which is why they feel comfortable. Because when they go with someone they're comfortable with, they know that they've got skills that even those people haven't got. That's what makes it even more important to them to join, because they feel they're not going to be a toe die anymore. They believe they're going to be treated with respect. And of course, they go to an association with everyone, suddenly becomes a master. And then they've all got their own positions, and they promote that association in order to make those positions much more credible.
Well, I mean, let me talk to you about credibility of, Hung Kyun. Yeah. The master of the style thinks to hit someone over the back with an umbrella is a display of, what is it, chi? Is it some sort of martial skill, some iron body training? I don't know. How many times have you been hit on the back by Master Yao, Steve? With an umbrella?
No.
No, you haven't. No. So, that's your master. Like,
I know that if I hit someone with an umbrella,
I don't get it.
It would bend. I know that much.
Well, never mind, it's full of springy bits that dissipates the power when you whack it round someone.
I've been hit over the back with an iron bar. Or no, actually, it was made of. I think it was.
Was it an iron bar with a chain attached, and it went whack?
Yeah, but no. When I was a kid, I was hit over the back with the bar, but it didn't. It just bent round me.
Yeah. No, but you're talking about credibility then, and whatever style you do, fine, whatever. But I'm just saying, Master Yao brandishing umbrellas and whacking guardians with umbrellas, saying, iron body training and whatnot. Like, you're doing movie fighting, fella. That's what it is. That's what Hung Kyun is. That's what your style is. I mean, great, good, get on with it, enjoy it. But you've lost a hell of a lot of science. You have. I know you have. You have. Good luck with you.
No, well, whoever you talk about, it's everybody, like you say, everybody to their own.
Everybody to their own.
Yeah, but the problem is, people believe in it, and they go their way, and well, good luck to them.
Well,
but I mean, it did send me that guy, going back to that guy, he did send me that message saying, "Let it go" and all that kind of thing. And what he's forgetting is, I've let it gone. It's been gone a long time ago.
It's just 6,000 miles away.
It doesn't matter to me. I've never contacted him or anything. I'd never intend to. It's just that, when people send like random things like that and go, oh, enjoy your life and get on with it. I guess it's because, he's aware that we're aware of his history.
There was a time when I very much respected him. No, that ship has sailed, I'm afraid. Right, so we got to move on. Should we talk about something a bit lighter? Should we lighten the load?
That was supposed to go on about 5 minutes about my thing, and you come out with all this stuff about different.
Well, it's true. Well, Lau Gar Sifu, Master, Mr. Every friggin', qualification listed at the end of an email. That's amazing. All it says under mine. Do you know what it says under mine? Brown sash.
But he didn't. The unfortunate thing, he didn't mention the thing that he was with the most of his life. The SJN Academy that taught him, to fourth degree.
That's true.
And that's why I say to him, in answer to that email, you cannot eradicate history. So just get a life. You're just going to have to accept it, and you move on. Because I don't need to move. I don't need to move on. You're just another one of those people that have left, that betray people, that have established themselves as some kind of, I don't know, whatever you believe you are, in a stupid little town where everybody must think you're, amazing. Good luck.
Wait a second. Hang on. I feel the need for a bit of Jack.
You can't handle the truth. I would rather you just said thank you and went on your way.
Oh, I love Jack.
You are such a troublemaker, James.
Hey, listen, what else I got to do?
Yeah, this is it. It's what you do.
Listen, we don't. Hey, we just respond.
Yeah, that's true.
My enemy move, I move, not before, right?
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Right. Okay. So, moving on. Shall we talk about a bit of Lau Gar syllabus? Because
let's talk about some martial arts, because people would like to listen to the martial arts.
Yeah.
The gossip is like
that's
only for local.
Yeah.
The gossip is for people who know us, I guess.
Oh, I guess so. Okay. So we're going to be talking about hand blocks 5 and 6. How about that, Mr. Newbie? We haven't talked about it.
Is it hand blocks or kick blocks?
Hand blocks.
Okay.
Hand blocks. Okay.
Yeah.
Hand block number 5, because this double elbows. Go on. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I like 5 and 6. I like 6 more than 5. Again, they're scenarios. Okay, they're introducing different techniques. Often people say, "Oh, we don't do any elbows in Lau Gar." Well, of course we do. We use elbows all the time for blocking as well as everything. You've done that demonstration, that video that explains a few things about elbows.
Yeah.
So basically, you're doing the same kind of scenario where there's a standard step and punch, and you're blocking a right hand, and then you're blocking a left. Okay. So when you do the left hand, basically when they're blocking their attack, okay, what I tend to do when I do that block is I continue it like sticking. And some people just block and then do this kind of thing. So they block, and then they do this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you want a continuation for all our listeners? You want a continuation of the block?
I want to try to make it sticky, like we did in our sticky hand video.
Right, yeah.
We use it, so we simply go and block and rotate.
Yeah.
Because as the other one comes, we're then going to pick it up exactly the same. So we're going to block and then return as we're going backwards. Or as what I like to say, we're consolidating the position. And of course, as we do that, then we'll trap. So as we trap, then we're pushing it upwards. Of course, then we can slide the elbow down. And of course, because we've raised the arm, the elbow is aimed at there. Okay, these are really good targets. Often people refer to it as stop the heart, start the heart.
Okay.
Of course, that's conjecture because we don't know whether the heart would stop or whether the heart would start. But that's a nickname for it. Stop the heart, start the heart. So basically, you are hitting it, and then you're spinning around. And then you're using your hand to smack that one right back.
Right, okay.
Okay, and then you're stepping
What
through.
are they suggesting? That there's some sort of artery in there? Or
Basically there's no muscles.
Right.
Okay, there's no muscles. So whatever's there, okay, it's going to be bloody painful because the muscle is on the front and the muscle is on the back. So you've got this armpit, which is an open space.
Right.
So it's a really good point to strike under the arm, but it's always covered by the arm. Yeah. So if you're taking the arm up, you're opening this opportunity.
I've seen some people do it on the elbow, where the first one they're attacking the tricep instead of the armpit. So they're coming up, just whack.
Yeah, well, it may be a useful technique, but it's not. It's not number 5.
No.
Okay, so number 5 is specific. All the syllabus basically is a specific opportunity to learn, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with elaborating and doing various techniques.
But you need a
always
baseline.
keep the mind open. Yeah, there's your baseline. Yeah. keep your mind open. But the premise obviously is block, rotate, continue, and then block, and then continue. So try to keep it flowing. That's what I like about number 5.
And I've heard now some people call it an X block. Have you ever heard that term before, other than karate?
Yeah. An X-Men.
It's Wonder Woman, isn't it?
They call that's what's called an X block. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why obviously it's called an X block.
But an X block in the karate sense, and I'm not a karate practitioner, but I'm going to say is just forcefully pushing up. So But what we tend to do is tend to bounce, don't we, with the rotation bounce?
It's continuing. Like I said, a lot of people don't do it this way, but this is just the way I teach. You do the first block, then as he comes with the second one, we're keeping that arm away. We're taking it out of the equation. We're pushing it. We're taking it so that he can't retract it or recover it. So we're trying to stop him from recovering it in the instant the other punch is coming. Then we're picking that one up and trapping it with this. But as soon as we take it on this hand is now an elbow.
Yeah.
So as we come in, we're then doing an elbow. So actually this one now is covering it. So in effect, it's a block like so.
Right.
It's only an instant where it's like
there's a journey in the journey, and sort of the middle of the journey. It's like an X block, isn't it?
Just for a second. Yeah.
I say X block.
And then you're going. And then you're going straight in, and some people will hold that, and that's okay too. If you elbow, there's nothing to say don't hold it. So if you can hold it, fine. But you're hitting under the armpit, and then immediately spinning around. And as you spin around, you form that as a fist. And
so with the first elbow, then, right?
Yeah.
So you've covered the hand, and you're moving in. What kind of elbow are you suggesting it is? I've always been under the impression that you are as you step forward towards the person with your right leg, you're driving that elbow up in the armpit. So it's you're combining forward momentum with your body. Obviously the weight of the arm, the elbow lifting, if you like, for the strike.
Yeah, the difficult. But you're not going to be able to get into the target then. And plus, if he's facing you, you can't do a forward elbow to it because you're just going to be missing. And that's why possibly people attack the.
So my question was, what kind of elbow are you talking about?
So you're just like that.
All right. Okay. So we're up and hitting. So we're almost on our on our side.
Yeah, because we've also stepped in, so we're real close now.
Yeah.
And you need to be close to perform an elbow.
Yeah.
You can't stay back.
Right.
You've got to be able to perform, so you're going to be, bang. Yeah. And then, and so when you turn, as you turn, your foot, you've stepped across him.
Mm-hmm.
So you're maintaining so that you're actually to the side of him in effect.
Yeah.
So that when you turn, your other leg, you don't move your other leg, you just turn around him
and you
do the elbow. Yeah. So you, in effect, you've got your right foot forward as you spin, and then of course as you spin,
you'll end up with your left foot forward.
Exactly. So you'll then be banging. Left foot forward and left elbow.
Yeah, and like in Chop Choi, the higher your fist under your armpit, the more range that elbow is going to have.
Yeah, that's right, and that's to the solar plexus.
Yeah.
Second one is to the solar plexus, so it's stop the heart, start the heart. That's what they call it,
Yeah. So I mean, like, I was because obviously we had Rash on before. And Rash likes to do a lot of throws and sort of very close in range, sort of the no man's land range.
Yeah.
With the elbow, with number 5, would you sort of interpret that as being a no man's land range, if you like, because you're very close and because you're turning as well?
Yeah, but you've done one strike, which if it isn't effective, it's not a good idea to try the second strike, because the second strike is with your back to him.
Yeah. This is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. So when you do the backward one, you really should be sitting on him. So you're literally sitting on his thigh, and you should be therefore pushing him backwards, both with your thigh, not before you hit him, because if you push him backwards before you hit him, you're going to reduce the effect of the technique.
You're talking about unrooting him. Like so you're not pushing him away, but there's off balance at the point.
You're effectively standing where he was standing.
Yeah.
And so as you do that, you're just it's like being in a crowd and bustling yourself in the way. Someone's behind you, so you push yourself back. You know, that's basically what you're doing. You're spinning around in their space, hitting them, and they've got nowhere else to go. They can't stay where they are. They've already been hit. They can't go, you know, anywhere.
In your mind, then, what's the logic in number 5 hand block? Because the first instance, you're consolidating your position, keeping that distance. You know, what was Master Yao suggesting, do you think, when he came up with this?
They're attacking with punches, so their hands are going to be much longer than your defense.
Right.
So basically, as you're blocking a punch, you don't really want to be going too far backwards. As you're rotating, you're blocking the other one. And that's why I like the rotation, because rather than block and then try to block, like a karate kind of thing, I don't like that at all. I'd rather completely, I'd like to take that arm around with it and make it really, so as he's throwing the second punch, this other arm is coming.
It's trapped underneath.
Yes, it's coming with him. So effectively, you're trying to make him like that if you can.
Yeah.
And so as you roll their fist around, you're bringing it up to the punch that they're trying to do. And they may try to pull it back, but it's really hard to pull it back from wherever it's going if you're rolling it round. So you don't have to hold it.
But that's not number 5.
Roll. Yeah, it's number 5. Block, rotate.
The rotation, but you're suggesting other bits. So
no, I agree. But all I'm doing is utilizing that block. Right. Remember, we talked about this with Rash as well, about the fact that, you know, blocks don't necessarily work in reality, okay? Because you're not doing them as a block. That's the first most important thing. Where I'm not doing it as a block. I'm parrying it and continuation. I'm parrying it and moving that technique. In other words, I'm consolidating my position on his arm, right? So I'm not just blocking it and then trying to block the other one with another type of block, okay? What I'm trying to do is to parry that and then to contain it. And as I contain it, use it to my benefit to prevent him from utilizing the other arm. And as I bring it around with me, it may interfere with his attempt to throw the second punch. But the punch is there, you raise it, and by that time you're well inside, and you should be blocking him here, not here. You should be actually taking that up. So as you take that up, you're already well inside, and then you just drop the elbow. And as you bang in the elbow, it doesn't have to go very far. And of course, you're already right on top of him. No need to step, just spin and hit the other one.
I've seen a lot of people, they'll do we'll call it the X block or whatever. And as they do that elbow, of course, you know, what they'll do is they'll break contact. They'll break contact with the hand that they're covering. Just focus on the elbow. And of course, that hand is now hanging in the air, the attacker's right hand. So, you know, it's worth saying then, you know, it's better to keep
contain
it or cover it, you know.
Once you've intercepted something, it's a good idea to contain it, because if you don't contain it, it's going to retract and do something else. And if you're containing it and it retracts, then you can feel it, which is what your sticky hands is about, which is why we did it as an exercise in our sticky hands. To demonstrate it, so you can keep flowing. And it makes it a very... So most people, when they do hand blocks and kick blocks, and let's face it, we all agree that hand blocks and kick blocks are limited in the pursuance of hand blocks and kick blocks. You find it difficult to actually make them look real or make them effective, because most people step punch, wait for the person to defend themselves, step punch, wait for the person to defend themselves. It's not real. And people take that in many different guises. And often in martial arts, they kind of think it's real, but it's not a realistic scenario. What you need to do is to evolve from that and make those punches much more realistic. But of course, the person who's defending he can't block. He's got to utilize that block. He's got to utilize that parry to do something. So if you're doing like a number 1 hand block, you will always begin like this and punch, but you will end with sort of that kind of thing. You will end with going bang bang. You will never contain it in its original form.
No.
Just like you will never contain a form in its original form, because it doesn't work in its original form. Just the same as the alphabet doesn't spell anything.
Right.
So that's what it is. The alphabet spells nothing, but without the alphabet, you cannot read and you cannot write.
Yeah.
And that is what a form is. And in the same instance, the examples that are taken from those forms for simplicity, for advancements in training where people can't think of different techniques, they're there for people who cannot think of to take away techniques from the form. They can't dissect them. So they're given opportunities. They're given specific examples.
Yeah.
Now, some people can't even, work them out. So they end up just going block, 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 whatever.
Right.
And they end up doing that. But what we're talking about on this podcast is live a little and start understand that you are not just the alphabet. You cannot do your martial art like an alphabet. You must learn to read as well.
Self-experimentation. You need to have the tools, though. You need to have the mindset and to be able to do that. I think.
But that's what the hand blocks are for. That's what the kick blocks are for. They're simple examples. And remember, they're years old.
Yeah.
Okay, they were just designed for people at the time when a lot of people did karate and they came to kung fu because kung fu was new in the 70s. So they've come from static martial arts, if you forgive my term of phrase, solid martial arts that are designed with power in mind. They've come from that and they've started doing a fluid martial art. And of course, these things are designed for people to kind of get the mindset to work those out. And they are as examples. Don't utilize them as themselves. Don't keep them just simply as how you were taught them. In the same way, you should never keep a form as how you were taught it. So when you do the first set and you're doing all these motions, eventually you should be. Yeah. That's the first set. Yeah. When you do the first set, you go, oh, there it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Well, that's the difference between karate, and kung fu. Is
it's a wrist. That's always my joke when people join, because a lot of people say, "Oh, what's the difference between kung fu and karate?" Then because they don't know what to join, and I say, "We've got wrists."
Yes, we have.
And there's your gates.
That was a bit limp.
There's your gates. Okay.
Yeah.
Gates or bridges. 1, 2. 3.
Well, hang on. That's the gate. The wrist. Yeah. The elbow. That's a gate. That's a gate. That is the bridge, because it's between the gates.
Now they call it double bridges when you do that.
Yeah.
Because that's a bridge and that's a bridge.
Well, I thought that was a bridge.
There's sometimes call it rolling
bridges.
Swinging bridges. Yeah. But that's the bridge or gate.
Yeah.
And often people will refer it in different ways, but that's the way I do it. Because if you get through this bridge, you have this one to defend. Yeah. And if you have this one to defend, after that, you're dead.
You're dead. Right. So number 6. That was interesting. Thank you, Mr. Newbie. Number 6. Give me this lowdown. What's going down? Number 6.
Number 6 is a Bruce Lee thing, isn't it? Gao Choi.
Gao Choi. It's a rolling punch. Punch.
Yeah, rolling fist, rolling
So
punch,
it's the first time, really, when we're doing a sort of not the first time you're doing a continuation, but it does seem quite sort of it's almost trapping. It's the first time you're really dabbling in trapping, I think, in the hand blocks.
Yeah, but
because number 8, kind of, but not really.
Yeah.
If you're just going forward,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but in number 6, you're basically trying to utilize the second form.
Yeah.
So when you do it in the second form, you're obviously doing it in the second form, but you don't know what you're doing in the second form. So all it's doing is giving you an example. Yeah. So when I teach number 6, I always teach it just like number 1.
Right.
So I just make them do number 1 over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So they go number 1 and the guy goes block, right? And then he counters, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they rotate.
Yeah.
So so basically, like the person, number 1, you counter, and then he tries to stop you countering. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I stop there. So I go, number one, bang, bang, and he knocks it.
Yeah.
Okay. Or he touches it. So he tries to block number one in effect.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like number one. So, he punches, you block and counter, but then he stops you.
Yeah.
Well, I just keep on making them do that as much as they can and as fast as they can. And then suddenly I say, as soon as he does that, you're going to bend your elbow and you're going to rotate. So you just go bang. So all you're doing is just dropping your elbow down. Now, people will say you're rolling your fist around, which is fine.
You can roll at the elbow, though.
But if you just drop the elbow, bang. It's the same as when you do the first set. You can either do the first set like this, which means you're bringing the hand back to you, which you would do.
You can bring the elbow into you.
Or you simply leave the hand where it is, drop the elbow.
Yeah.
The hand hasn't gone anywhere. It's closer to the target.
Yeah.
It's faster. But
So
you can't do that. You can't do that. A beginner can't do that. He doesn't perceive that. So you give them a chance to learn big rotation. And with a rolling punch, same thing. Big rotation. But then when it comes to it, block, boom, you're inside, you trap and hit. Okay, so bang and hit.
Yeah, I think because, when you're doing it sort of raw, if you like, for the first time, you kind of think that that rolling punch comes back to go forward.
Yeah.
What you're suggesting is, as you block, it's all forward momentum. It's all forward motion. That totally makes sense.
It's exactly the same in Wing Chun.
Yeah, except it's up there. Hello.
Well, they do it in various places, but it's basically bong sao, isn't it?
Yeah, is it? But you're maintaining that tactile touch with your forearm or your bridge gate, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it's there, isn't it? Because you've changed the angle. Someone's blocked you, and you just moved in. So in effect, you could at this point do an elbow to them.
But you can't because their arm is there. So yes, you could to a degree, but you're kind of on the outside.
Yeah,
so it's more difficult.
I said kind of do an elbow.
Yeah, okay, but it looks like that.
Yeah. But
the other thing you've got to remember is you're also stepping in and trapping their foot. Yeah. Now, some people can't trap the foot, depending on your height and sizes. You do not want to, if the instructor says you've got to trap the foot, you've got to consider the height of the person and so on, because if you try to trap the foot, you end up kind of at an angle from them, and that puts you in a bad position. Now you're trying to hit to the side. It's not necessary. If you can't trap the foot, put your knee to knee, because if you put knee to knee instead of foot around foot, you still get the same process. Right, you can still trap the foot and then press on the knee, but if you've only got the foot on the knee, you can still press on the knee, and you don't never have to press towards them. You can do that or sideways.
Is the foot trap, the knee press, whatever you want to call it, is that actually in the syllabus? Is that part of number 6?
Yeah.
It is, right?
Yeah. So you step in, but everybody's different. The most important thing, you've got to maintain a continuation. In other words, you've got to contain them. You can't sort of turn to the side. In other words, say someone will say, put the foot around their foot. So people end up turned sideways like that.
And they're hitting out there instead of there.
Yeah, exactly. So if you can't do that, depending on your height and your partner's height, then simply put the knee to the knee. If you can't do that knee, because it's still kind of over there, then put your knee to his other knee.
Right.
Because you can still do the same thing. Most important thing is he can't kick, because you can feel him move. As long as you're contacting his knee, you can feel him move.
Talking about the gaucho or the rolling punch, I've seen a lot of people, they press with the forearm.
Yeah.
Now, I'm asking you, the scope is there to press, and whatever you want to call it. I don't know if you want to go in geek mode. What is it? Seal? Is it to seal? Or what? I don't know what it is. But anyway, I just think, it's a press. But I'm asking you about the gaucho. In the hand block itself, it's an actual that's what you're doing it for, right? You're doing it to hit them with a punch, bang, like that. Yeah. You're not doing it to press and push and trap the leg off balance. You're doing it to hit them.
Yeah. Now, if you can hit them in the face, that's fine. If you can't, there's absolutely nothing wrong, as long as you're rolling it. To there, or the collarbones. The sternum, whatever you can hit. But the most important thing is you're hitting, because after that, you can continue.
Yeah. Oh, you can continue? Oh, you mean not a contingency? And No?
Yeah, but it's not a contingency. It's just a continuation of the fight to ensure you win.
Me. Sorry, I channeled Lau Gar Sifu then. Right then. Okay, so that's number 6. Any other points with number 6?
No, I think you're basically trying to drive the person backwards every time you fight. Whenever you're doing hand blocks and kick blocks, you should always really try, particularly hand blocks, going forward.
I've got a question. I should have asked it when we were talking about the last hand block, number 5. Talk about the recovery of, because when you finish number 5, right, with the strike, sorry, I'm rewinding now, viewers, listeners, I apologize.
Yeah.
We've done the elbow. Talk about we are then stepping out away from the person, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't want to turn around on the same spot.
No. You step with your right foot forwards, turn around, and you're back in your left fighting stance.
Yeah.
And you're ready to do the next hand block.
But you're not really stepping around on the spot as you would like do it in a walk. You're actually trying to gain a bit of distance, right?
Yeah, always. Yeah.
Always. Because you don't know what's behind you.
Exactly. So you
to throw caution. Yeah.
You step away and turn. Same as a kick blocks. You kick, you step away and turn.
Yeah.
You know, if you can.
Sorry, I just thought I just came to me. I don't know why.
Always take the logical way.
Yeah.
No, because martial arts or kung fu is always logical.
Well, it's like
you can't speak for all martial arts.
It's like if you're competition fighting and you somehow end up with your back towards the person. I ain't looking. I'm buggering off. I'm running. Get away.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that. You don't want to end up with your back to them as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but if they are behind you when you're hitting them, well, that's fine if you're hitting them.
Yeah.
It's not so fine if they trap you.
I'm just thinking about the sort of like the logical formal ending of the hand block itself.
We're always talking about finishing off. You know, if there's any way that you can get people down after those things. I think I really encourage people to train that and try and get people down. Always try. I know it's nothing to do with the hand blocks, but I really am a firm believer that you know, just punching someone and leaving them standing so they can do it again is just, you know, folly. And I think if you can get him, you trap him, put him down, not so that you end up on the floor with him, but so that he's in the floor, is always a good idea, especially if he falls awkwardly. Obviously, you've got to be aware that not to crash their head against the sidewalk. But if you can get them down and lock them, or, you know, injure the limb, then it makes it very difficult for them to continue to fight. Because if they're fitter than you and you don't get them down and they survive the first punch, it's only a matter of time before you get hit. And if you can't take that hit, you know, then it's going to hurt big time, and you're not going to win.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I'm such a fan of Rash, because I love the way he invokes that finishing off. You know, we all agree. I mean, I disagree with Rash in terms of, you know, the ground fight, because he likes ground fighting and stuff, but he agrees with the fact that it's no good in self-defense. In terms of you being on the floor when other people could turn around and turn into the fight. So the intention is to stand up. If you have to go down with him, get him down so that you can lock him, but never go down to wrestle with him.
Right. Okay.
I'm not suggesting you wrestle with anyone.
Yeah.
So good idea to train it, but it's not a good idea to in reality.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's great. Right. I think that's about us done, isn't it? I think we've bitched and moaned and.
We only moaned because we were invoked to. We were kind of.
Prick me, do I not bleed?
Yeah, I mean, when people send things, I'm here. I'm human. I'm going to react, and people don't like people react. There's a lot of people that we hear of that are saying. That talk about our podcast. I mean, obviously we've got a lot of fans.
Oh, we've got a lot of enemies as well. People trying to silence us.
Yeah, that's right.
Literally trying to silence us.
Because we speak about, we're doing is...
He's a guardian. He's a guardian. He shouldn't be saying this. He shouldn't be saying that. No, you're a person.
What am I saying? What am I saying that's wrong? I'm just telling people who complain, answering them. But listen. This morning, today, I was in Value Village, which is a thrift shop thrift store. Big
Was it? I wouldn't have known with a name like Value Village.
Yeah. People donate, they sell it for profit, and they give a little bit to charity.
Oh.
American company.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, so I'm in there, and all this social distancing and everything.
Yeah.
So they've got these arrows pointing down the alleyways and then coming up the other alleyways.
Yeah.
So I was putting my mask on, but I do wear a mask when I go in there because it's all old stuff, right?
Yeah.
You don't know who's donated it. So I do wear a mask, and I was just walking down an aisle, put my mask on, and this guy, he goes like that. He went, stop, and he points at the thing, and of course it's facing the other way, and I'm coming down the wrong way, and I'm going, I'm sorry, and he says, with all this stuff in America, don't come any closer and all that kind of thing. And I'm thinking, and then this poor old guy comes walking down, and he goes, look, don't come down any closer. You go around that way. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you're not even wearing a frigging mask. So I walked around. I said, no problem and everything. Then we've done some shopping. So I walked back up, and I was walking the right way this time, and there he was. And I says, you're telling everybody to go in the right direction. You're not wearing a mask. I says, if you're going to be like that, at least wear a mask, and then you can argue your point. So I had it out with him. And I'm thinking, don't fucking tell me what to do. You're not wearing a mask. Don't pretend to be concerned. So wear a frigging mask.
Yeah.
And my daughter says you're going to get me fired because it works there.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, but I'm not having people telling me what to do, and they're not even you have that, don't you? You get a lot of people who say, the rules, but they're not adhering to them. But for some reason, you have to adhere to them. So don't tell me to not talk about anyone when you're talking about me, or when you're coming out with this bullshit. We're saying something and you don't like it, then just write an email or come and speak to us on the podcast. Or, don't come out bloody Mr. Anonymous.
Don't hide away. Come on. Grow some cojones.
We don't need to have an aggressive argument. We need to have a laugh. But when you say something, if it makes sense, I'll totally agree with you. Okay? I'm fine with it. But if you come to me and say, like, for instance, there are movements in the set you deliberately aim to miss, shut up. Come back with some evidence.
You went hypersonic then, and your mic blew, kind of blew a fuse.
Haven't you got
What do you want?
Can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth. I would rather you just said thank you and went on your way.
There you go. Do you like the Jack Nicholson hands? Oh, shit. I'm destroying my room. Oh. Anyway, right, that was great. Thank you, Mr. Newbie. I think we've done enough. No, it's absolutely right. I think it's right. We're always open for a debate. We're always open for a debate, people, and a respectful debate.
Yes.
But if you keep it anonymous, we won't be nice. We won't be nice.
We'll do our best.
Come on. I just don't like. I don't like little keyboard warriors. I don't like them.
But we're not out to make enemies. We're just out to speak the truth.
Yeah.
And if people won't speak the truth, then so be it. But don't stop me from speaking the truth. I'm only telling the truth.
It's your truth, and we realise that, and it's my truth.
Just it's my opinion.
Yeah, it's opinions, right? So fine.
Don't stifle opinion just because you can't give it. If you're not in a position to give it, you can at least make some points that are relevant. Don't just pick arguments over a stupid little thing. Make a good point.
If you want a good argument, hey, we'll have a call. You can even come on the podcast and you can argue your point with us. We love that.
Yeah. And you don't even have to have a picture. You can just talk anonymously.
You can just talk. We'll put a hello, I was the victim. We'll do it like a voice thing on you, Yeah. Anyway, right, we got to go. We got to make a move. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We hope to see you again.
I apologise for my rant. And I apologise for James, who always keeps on bitching about people. It's his job.
It is my job, isn't it?
It's what he needs to do because we need to speak the truth.
Truth, man. Truth. And everybody, take care of yourselves. Don't forget, if you like this podcast, guys, go over to us on Podbean, subscribe to us, go to YouTube, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell and all that jazz. Give our Facebook a like and SGN Martial Arts. And we, any questions, any feedback from you, keep it PG. That's cool. We welcome it all, guys.
You know damn well, James, that we'll never get guests on because they're scared to.
That's true.
Come on with us, but we never did it in the first place for guests. We just Well, we love guests, but you're not. We have a good argument, and if you're up for a good friendly argument, which is sitting around the table and having a good argument about everyone's point of view, then that's great. But and you're always welcome to do that. And we get a lot of people who ask, opinions about certain forms, and I can only give my opinion. So sometimes I send them a video. We did a critique with a sword today, and they did it really well. But I had critique, and they asked for critique, and I just told them critique. So whenever we talk to people, we're only talking on their level. If they want to know, we'll tell them. We're not going to hide behind anything.
Mm-hmm.
And all that.
There you are. Bare bones. Right, guys, take care of yourselves. Hope to see you again on another episode of the Kung Fu Podcast. My name is James Still, saying goodbye. Train hard, keep safe, be cool, and this is Mr. Newbie.
Seafood to you!
Oh, you went subsonic. I've got to call you Seafood. Sorry, Seafood Master. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.
What? Bye, y'all.
Concentrate on your enemy's weak points. The eyes, the throat, the knackers.
Hi guys, thanks so much for joining us on the Kung Fu Podcast. If you like that and you want to find out more about us, you can head over to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or YouTube and find us under SJN Martial Arts. And also guys, this podcast is available on Podbean and iTunes. So until next time, take care of yourselves and we'll see you again on the Kung Fu Podcast.
Karate punch is like an iron bar, whack. A Kung Fu punch is like an iron chain with an iron ball attached to the end and it go whang.
Can you break a log like that?
Don't know. Never been attacked by a tree.
What are we on now?
How's
54. Yeah, that's better. Just speak.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's better. Yeah.
Let it go. Let it go.